I never imagined losing my daughter's birthday, until a millionaire changed everything for us. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It was bright and sunny, but my heart felt heavy. My daughter, Lily, was turning 6. 6. A day filled with joy, balloons, and laughter. But there I was, standing in our tiny living room, staring blankly at empty walls. The party I had planned was gone, vanished like smoke. A last-minute emergency had stolen it away. My hands trembled, an ice-cold grip tightening around my chest. I couldn't let her down, not today. The cruel twist of fate that led us here seemed almost surreal. My husband had been laid off just weeks before. I had scrimped and saved every penny, but it wasn't enough. With a heart pounding louder than my own thoughts, I glanced at Lily, her little face glowing with anticipation. She had no idea, but the silence around us felt like a ticking bomb. What would I tell her? Sorry, sweetheart, no party this year. Tears stung my eyes. I couldn't break her heart like that. Lily was both my light and my anchor. She was always curious, with wild, untamed hair and a smile that could light up the darkest of days. Just last week, she'd hugged me tightly, her tiny fingers clutching my shirt. Mommy, it'll be the best birthday ever, she had said, full of hope. I wished I could share her excitement. As I paced the room, the doorbell rang. A strange urgency filled the air. I opened the door to find a tall man in an expensive suit, his eyes hidden behind dark sunglasses. He looked out of place in our neighborhood. A shiver ran down my spine. Hi, I'm Mr. Harrington, he said, his voice smooth but oddly detached. I hear there's a little girl who could use some help. His presence felt surreal. I searched his face for understanding, for warmth. But all I found were the cold edges of his grin. I have an offer, he continued, slipping a thin envelope into my hand. Your daughter's birthday. I can make it unforgettable. I stood frozen, my pulse racing. What could a millionaire want with us? What was the catch? A mix of desperation and hope bubbled inside me. What do you mean? I finally managed to whisper. What do I have to do? He chuckled softly. Just say yes. And I promise you, tomorrow will be the day she remembers. Forever. A million questions raced through my mind. Was this a dream? A trap? My trembling fingers gripped that envelope tighter. Inside, I could see the gleam of a check amid mystery. The weight of the world rested on my shoulders. Could I trust him? I glanced back at Lily, who was now peeking over my shoulder, her eyes wide with wonder. My heart sank deeper. All I wanted was to make her happy. But at what cost? I took a deep breath, knowing I was standing at a crossroads. Either path would change everything. But which one would lead us back to the light? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The morning light filtered through the dusty curtains as I stood at the threshold of our home. The envelope weighed heavily in my pocket, a tangible reminder of the uncharted territory I was considering stepping into. Each heartbeat echoed in my ears, blending with Lily's soft giggles from the other room. She was blissfully unaware, blissfully innocent. My baby girl deserved the world, and yet, here I was, ready to gamble everything on an unknown. With a deep breath, I stepped back into the living room. There she was, twirling around in her favorite dress, her hair a wild cascade of curls, laughter bubbling from her lips like a melody. The sight of her brought a warmth to my chest, battling the cold, pressing weight of uncertainty. Mommy, can we have cake? And balloons? And she paused, her sky-blue eyes sparkling with a question only she could articulate. Can we have presents? I knelt down beside her, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach my eyes. Of course, sweetheart, I replied. What do you want most for your birthday? The question felt hollow, knowing that my answer might depend on a stranger's whim. Lily's face lit up. A big unicorn castle. She squealed, lifting her hands in an exaggerated way. The innocent excitement clutched at my heart. How could I not give her what she had always dreamed of? But the deeper I went into intermingled thoughts of desperation and hope, the more distant her dreams felt. Just then, the doorbell rang again, a sudden interruption. My heart raced. It couldn't be Mr. Harrington already. I opened the door cautiously, revealing a neighbor, Mrs. Bennet, with a freshly baked cake cradled in her arms. Oh, Hannah. I thought I'd bring this over for Lily's birthday, she said with a radiant smile, the kind that could thaw the coldest of hearts. I know things have been tough lately, so I thought a little sweetness might brighten your day. Tears pricked my eyes, but I blinked them back, grateful for her kindness. Thank you, Mrs. Bennet. It means so much to us. Lily ran to the door and jumped up and down, her enthusiasm contagious as she touched the frosted cake. My favorite. She beamed, clapping her hands. In that moment, the weight of the world lifted just a little. Mrs. Bennet's gesture reminded me that even in a sea of despair, kindness could still pierce through and people cared. As Mrs. Bennet left, I closed the door slowly, breathing in the sweet scent of the cake that filled the room. Yet, deep within, the question remained. Would a cake be enough? What if this one moment of happiness could be overshadowed by a future I couldn't foresee? Later that evening, as Lily bounced on the couch, her laughter filling the room, my thoughts were still tangled in the possible choices. The envelope was still there, burning a hole in my pocket, pulse quickening every time I thought of it. That night, as I tucked Lily into bed, I sat beside her, brushing back a stray curl from her face. You know, you are my biggest treasure, I whispered, choking back a lump in my throat. I want to give you the world, Mommy, she asked, her eyes fluttering with sleepiness. What are we going to do tomorrow? I hesitated, then forced myself to meet her gaze. It's a surprise, I lied, wrapping my arms around her. You just have to trust me. I do. She sighed, sinking into her pillows with a content smile, the light fading from her eyes as sleep took her. But as I tiptoed out of her room, dread nestled in my gut. I hadn't just lied to her, I was about to change our lives forever. I clenched my fists, feeling the rigid edges of the envelope pressing against my thigh, a silent but heavy reminder of the decision I still had to make. Later that night, I slid the envelope from my pocket, the moonlight illuminating the delicate paper. As I prepared to open it, the sound of my phone vibrating on the table startled me. A text from an unknown number flashed across the screen. I know what you're thinking. Don't get involved with Mr. Harrington. A chill spread through my veins, and I stared at the message, my mind racing. Who was this person? How did they know? I felt the weight of a new unknown wrapping around me. I took a deep breath, staring at the envelope once more. The promise of an unforgettable birthday beckoned, but at what hidden cost? In the looming shadow of the future, hope and fear battled within me. And as I faced the terrifying possibility of what lay ahead, I could only wonder if I was making the biggest mistake of my life. The sun rose the next morning with a hesitant glow, as if it were uncertain of the chaos brewing just beneath its radiant exterior. I woke early, my heart heavy with the weight of the decision that loomed over me. The envelope sat on the kitchen counter like a silent sentinel, daring me to make a choice that felt impossibly large. I knew today was supposed to be about Lily. Her joy would nurture the vines of hope in my heart, but I felt a storm brewing inside me. As I brewed coffee, the smell strong and oddly comforting, I thought back to the anonymous text. Who could it be? The words spun in my mind, entwined with fear. Was it a warning, a plea for caution? Or was it simply a malicious attempt to rattle my already frayed nerves? I shivered, drawing my sweater tighter around me, trying to ward off the chill of uncertainty. I took a deep breath, deciding to focus on the present. Today was Lily's special day. After all, how could I let my own insecurities overshadow her hopes? Just then, I heard her voice from her room, a cooing sound like a gentle song floating through the air. My heart swelled with love and resolve. I wasn't about to let anything dampen her spirit today. I tiptoed into her room, her golden curls lit up by the golden light of morning spilling through the window. She lay there, snuggled with her stuffed unicorn, a small piece of magic coiled up in innocence. The sight of her sent a surge of motivation through my veins. Lily was my anchor. She deserved a day filled with laughter and fun, free from the burdens that haunted me. Happy birthday, my little princess, I whispered, leaning over to sprinkle soft kisses across her forehead. She stirred, her eyes fluttering open, and the moment they met mine, a radiant smile broke out across her face. Mommy. I'm 4. She shouted, throwing her arms wide in jubilation. It was infectious. The joy that radiated from her was like an antidote to all my inner turmoil. I couldn't help but laugh, caught in the whirlwind of her excitement. After a celebratory breakfast of pancakes topped with syrup and slices of fruit shaped like stars, we decorated the living room with balloons and party hats, each pop echoing Lily's laughter. Glittering streamers hung from the ceiling like beams of hope, illuminating our small apartment. In these fleeting moments of happiness, all my worries drifted away like leaves on a gentle stream, replaced by Lily's joyous squeals. But the peace didn't last long. Just as we began to set our little party in motion, the doorbell rang again, and dread pulled in my stomach. My heart sank at the thought of Mr. Harrington's looming presence, a figure who represented more than just an opportunity but a potential turning point in our lives. Lily squealed and sprinted to the door, her infectious excitement brightening the atmosphere as she flung it open. My heart pounded as I stood back, peeking over her shoulder, bracing for the encounter. To my surprise, it wasn't Mr. Harrington standing there, but a delivery man holding a large bouquet of flowers. Delivery for Miss Lily. He grinned as he glanced down at her. Me. She chirped, eyes wide with awe. For me? I stepped forward, still feeling the weight of uncertainty. A part of me wished the flowers were from someone special like a mysterious Santa Claus, but they came with a card that read, "Happy birthday, sweet Lily." From a friend who believes in unicorn castles. Lily's eyes sparkled with joy, and she hopped on her toes, clapping her hands in an exhilarating dance of delight. The bouquet was vibrant, full of colorful blooms that swayed like a rainbow caught in a breeze. I accepted the flowers, thanking the delivery man, and once he left, I set them on the table beside Lily as she gazed at them with wonder. It was a small gesture, but a flicker of kindness sliced through the clouds of despair that had hovered over my mind. Who could have sent them? I mused aloud, but Lily didn't care. To her, they were a symbol of magic, brightening the room like the sun peeking through grey clouds. As our party continued, a flurry of balloons filled the air around Lily's laughter, but my inner turmoil began to fester again. In the chaos of happiness, I pulled out my phone, feeling the surge of temptation to reply to that unknown message. I hesitated, staring at the screen. Should I respond? Would it bring more trouble or shield me from harm? Eventually, curiosity took over. I typed a cautious response, "Who is this?" I hit send, heart racing with the burden of unpredictability. And just as I began to worry about the implications of my decision, a message came through faster than my heart could handle. "I'm someone who cares, Hannah. You really need to be careful." Every part of me tightened in fear. What hidden thread connected me to this stranger? Was I putting Lily's happiness at risk by even considering the envelope and Mr. Harrington's proposition? Suddenly, the door creaked open once again. In stepped Mrs. Bennet with her kind-hearted smile, holding a colorful bag filled with party supplies. "I wanted to see the birthday girl," she exclaimed, her energy igniting the room. But her eyes flickered to mine, and behind that warmth, there was a hint of concern. She sensed the storm brewing. "Everything okay, dear?" I plastered on a brave smile, forced to bury my own dread beneath layers of silk and glitter for Lily's sake. Somehow, the day had morphed into a bright spectacle filled with family and friends, yet threads of dark uncertainty began tightening, capturing me in their web. As our party unfolded, I glanced at my phone hoping for another message, but the screen stared back blankly, resonating with an insidious silence. I was running out of time. With a steely resolve, I turned toward my daughter, wrapping her in a warm hug, and breathed deeply. Everything I chose now would ripple outward, affecting her future in ways I couldn't yet understand. But would I be strong enough to carry her if the weight became too much? And as I found myself holding on to those joyful moments, I was reminded of the crux of this journey. It wasn't just about making the right decision, but about finding the strength to face whatever lay ahead. The shadows that loomed were now contoured by hints of light, but doubts twisted around me like a storm, reminding me that the real struggle was yet to come. The echoes of laughter danced through the air as the party wore on, a vivid tapestry of joy sewn together by the bright laughter of children and the warm chatter of friends. Still, I couldn't shake the unease coiled deep within me, twisting tighter with every heartbeat. The bouquet of flowers sat leader of the pack on the table, a lingering reminder of that anonymous message. Who watched from the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. The tensions of the day felt fragile, teetering on the edge of oblivion. As Lily played with her friends, a joyful circle around her, my mind drifted back to the envelope still resting on the kitchen counter. I hadn't even looked at its contents, terrified what it might reveal. It felt like holding a live grenade, knowing it could detonate at any moment. What if I opened it and found something that shattered this perfect moment? The thought sent a shiver down my spine. "Can I help with anything, dear?" Mrs. Bennet's voice snapped me back to the present. The warmth of her presence reminded me that not all the shadows contained malice. "You've done such a marvelous job decorating." Lily must be overjoyed and a little hyper, I chuckled, forcing a spark of genuine happiness into my tone. But the moment was fleeting. "Let me help serve the cake," she offered, sliding beside me with determination. As we worked together, cutting generous slices of rainbow cake, I caught sight of the envelope again, pricking at the edges of my mind. A part of me felt guilty for letting the darkness creep in on Lily's special day. The guilt hung heavy. How could I truly celebrate when inside I was grappling with unseen forces threatening to disrupt everything we had built? The cake was a hit, with frosting-covered little hands reaching for second and third slices, each squeal of delight mingling with my growing anxiety. I watched as they devoured their treats with uncontainable joy, but even Lily's laughter felt muted, caught in a distant haze of my inner conflict. In that moment of blissful chaos, I wanted to hold on to every memory while it lingered. What if this was the last sliver of normalcy we had? What if my moment of weakness shattered the bright world I'd built around her? "Your daughter is a gem," Mrs. Bennet remarked as she placed a plate on the table, her smile fading as her gaze lingered on mine. "You've done a wonderful job raising her. It's clear how much she loves you. If only she knew what simmered beneath the facade I tried so hard to maintain." I managed a wan smile, but my heart felt hollow, heavy with a burden she could never understand. Just then, my phone buzzed in my pocket, jolting me from my spiral of worry. I pulled it out hesitantly, hope anchoring me. Maybe it was Mr. Harrington texting to confirm our meeting. Maybe the stranger had reached out again to offer solace. Instead, I read the message, and cold dread washed over me. "You can't keep running from the truth, Hannah. Everything you seek to protect is at stake." Every word pierced my heart like shards of ice, making me recoil. I blinked, glancing over at Lily, gleefully tearing through her presents with tears glistening in her eyes. She was happy, oblivious to the storm swirling in the periphery of her birthday outings. "Are you okay, dear?" Mrs. Bennet asked, her voice tinged with concern. I forced my shoulders back, swallowing the panic clawing at my throat. I wanted to let her in on what I was feeling, but would it break the fragile barrier holding this day together? "Just a bit overwhelmed, I think," I admitted, trying to mask the inner turmoil. Who wouldn't be with so many little ones around? It must be so rewarding to see her smile like that. "You have nothing to worry about, sweetie. Whatever it is, it will pass." Her words bore comfort, sparking a fleeting hope that maybe she was right. But the unease still gnawed at me, clawing through my chest, and I realized how alone I felt in this moment, the weight of responsibility drawing me deeper into the shadowy corners of my thoughts. "Can we take a picture?" Mrs. Bennet suggested, pulling out her phone. "Let's capture this moment before another present distracts her." An arm wound around my shoulder as she gathered the children, and soon they all crowded together, squealing at the thought of a photo. I joined them, forcing a smile, trying to hold back the creeping dread as the world continued to spin, oblivious to my struggles. The camera flashed, and for a fleeting heartbeat, I lost myself in the brightness of the moment. Then, with everyone settled back into the joy of the party, I snuck a glance at my phone, heart hammering in my chest. A single word stood out from the darkness, gripping my stomach in knots. Nora.it rolled around in my mind like a heavy stone, blocking all air. Nora was the name of my sister, a name I hadn't heard in years, buried under the weight of our fractured past. My chest tightened as uncertainty crept back in. What connection did this person have to her? And how was I linked to it all? As I processed the shock, my hand trembling slightly, Mrs. Bennet turned to me, her eyes crinkling with warmth. "Hannah, are you sure everything's all right?" I managed a nod, but inside I was spiraling. I glanced back at Lily, laughter-free and innocent, and in that moment, I knew I had to protect her. Protect her from whatever storm was brewing on the horizon. But as the party unfolded around me, the shadows overshadowed every morsel of happiness, distorting the world just enough to make me question how much was real and how much was a carefully constructed facade. And deep down, the waiting storm whispered that the real storm hadn't even begun to reveal itself yet. The atmosphere shifted as the party continued, blissful laughter and the sweet scent of cake attempting to uplift my spirits. I watched Lily, a radiant sunbeam, drawing in the joy like it was her fuel. Her friends adored her, chattering excitedly, the innocent chaos battering against my mind, echoing with reminders of secrets I couldn't share. As the kids dove into a game of tag, I excused myself to the back porch, the only sanctuary from the bright chatter inside. The cool air brushed against my face, grounding me amid rising panic. Nora's name hung like a weightless threat in the air. I leaned against the railing, struggling to grasp the fragility of my situation. How could I navigate the dangerous waters of my past with an uncertain future looming around my daughter? The envelope, that unassuming weapon threatening to rupture my world, lay like a dark cloud in my mind. I reached for my phone again, desperately hoping for clarity in the messages. It could contain the truth that would tie everything together or perhaps unravel it completely. Another text pinged, this time from an unknown number. "Meet me. We need to talk about Nora. You're not safe." My heart plummeted as the words sank in. The last thing I wanted was to dive into a conversation about my sister, let alone in a setting that felt threatening. The quiet of the porch did little to calm the storm brewing within. I felt a presence behind me and turned to see Mrs. Bennet standing nearby, her concerned gaze scouring my face. "You seemed a bit lost there." "Is everything really all right? I just needed a moment," I replied, suddenly weary. "It's been an overwhelming day." She stepped closer, the warmth of her aura radiating around me. "You are a wonderful mother, Hannah. I see how much you love Lily. If something is bothering you, it's okay to talk about it." Tears pricked at the corners of my eyes, and for a moment, I contemplated unraveling the entire truth. But the thought of burdening her with my tangled mess, the dark threads woven through my life, stopped me. Instead, I managed a small smile, unsure if I could trust the comfort she offered. I appreciate it, really. But I'm in control, she smiled knowingly, pulling out a cupcake from her pocket. I saved this one just for you. Best thing for a stressed mind, I assure you. I chuckled through the haze. I hadn't expected to find solace in simple kindness, yet there it was. The sweet coconut flavor filled my senses, and for a brief moment, I tasted freedom. Thank you. It's delightful. The cheerful atmosphere of the party faded into the background as I silently vowed to keep my fears at bay, at least until Lily's birthday was over. But my phone buzzed again, this time a call. I hesitated, glancing at the screen, and my heart skipped. The name Mr. Harrington glared back at me. Swallowing hard, I answered, knowing this conversation could lead me closer to understanding the chaos waiting on the horizon. Hannah, Mr. Harrington, I replied, fighting against the rising dread. There's something we need to discuss about the upcoming project, he started, but his tone shifted, heavy with urgency. And I think it's more critical to address a particular situation concerning Nora. My breath froze. What do you mean? I can't discuss it over the phone, but what you decide now could impact her safety. The mention of safety sent chills slithering down my spine. What does this have to do with my daughter? You need to get away from that party, Hannah. I suggest you leave immediately, for both your and Lily's protection. Each word struck with a sense of impending danger. My heart raced as I gazed back at the glowing interior where Lily was, unaware of the oncoming waves. But she now, Hannah. Trust me, he insisted, urgent and firm. My mind reeling, I turned to Mrs. Bennet, who stood at the threshold, worry etched across her gentle features. I caught her eye, breath hitching in my throat. My daughter, was I being asked to throw her to the wind? I have to go, I whispered, the words tumbling out as if they were a lifeline thrown into turbulent water. But every fiber of my being screamed that I could not leave without her. This is too dangerous. I can protect you from a distance, Mr. Harrington pressed. You need to make a choice now. The weight of that choice pressed heavily against my chest, thinning the air until it felt suffocating. And as I stood there torn between panic and the desperate need to keep Lily safe, I realized everything was spiraling out of control. With one final glance at the joyous chaos inside, the smiles painted across my daughter's face felt like daggers piercing through me. I was being torn between fear and maternal instinct, caught in the intersecting paths of darkness and light that were brimming with uncertainty. And as the last laugh of children echoed in my ears, an unsettling realization hit me. Darkness was closing in faster than I had anticipated, and I had to decide how to confront it before it swallowed everything I loved whole. The stakes had been raised, and a gut-wrenching decision lay ahead, one that could change our lives forever. The party swirled around me, but all I could focus on was the pulse of my heart, hammering away at the fear gripping my chest. I glanced once more at the door, where the sound of laughter rang out like a siren's song, beckoning me back to safety, to my daughter. How could I justify leaving her behind? Yet, the chilling urgency in Mr. Harrington's voice weighed heavily, a sinister echo of a reality I had hoped to evade. I need to go inside, I finally murmured, the instinct to protect Lily warring with the terror that clutched at me. Absolutely not. Mr. Harrington's response was swift, laced with a firmness that demanded compliance. Stay put. Listen to me closely. But the icy tendrils of dread gripped my thoughts, drowning out his voice. I watched the sweet innocence of children playing in the grass. Lily, her laughter rising like bubbles in sunlight, unaware of the shadows creeping ever closer. How could I pull her from that joy into a world fraught with peril? Suddenly, a soft voice broke through my reverie. Mrs. Bennet stepped up beside me, eyes filled with concern. Hannah, you seem distressed. What's happening? My voice trembled as I wrestled with the truth I couldn't bring myself to share. I need to make a decision that might be hard for both of us. She reached for my hand, grip steady, warm, a small anchor amid the tempest. Whatever it is, you aren't alone in this. You'll find your way, even in the dark. It was a statement of faith, her unwavering support sinking into my heart, and for a fleeting moment, I dared to hope she could carry some of my burden, but as I glanced back inside, I was hit by the chilling clarity of my choices. One could shield and the other could destroy. If I take Lily away from here, I whispered, voice cracked as if my own resolve threatened to break, I could be putting her in jeopardy, but if you stay, you may be putting her in even greater danger, Mrs. Bennet countered, her eyes sharp and clear. You must trust your instincts as her mother. Mr. Harrington interrupted my swirling thoughts. In a synchronized pulse of warning. Hannah, time is running out. You must act. The word sent a jolt through me, stripping me of clarity and thrusting panic into my veins. My phone buzzed in my hand, another text from the unknown number reading, they're watching you. Her safety depends on what you do next. Meet me. The text felt like daggers slicing through my resolve, each word warping my perception of time and choice. Were they truly a threat, or a mere attempt to sow seeds of fear? I'm afraid, I admitted. The vulnerability surged through me like a tide, unbidden and raw. Mrs. Bennet's gaze softened, stepping closer. It's okay to be afraid. But you are stronger than you know. Think about Lily, what's best for her. The thought of my daughter consumed me, pressing at the fringes of my consciousness. I squeezed my eyes shut, battling against the burden of the truth. Was this really the day that should reshape our futures? The thought of the joyous birthday party turning dark loomed like an impending storm. My heart raced, and I felt the weight of inevitability squeeze the air from my lungs. A decision was nigh, and yet I remained paralyzed by fear. I pulled away, focusing on Lily, who turned to wave at me, a playful grin illuminating her face amidst the cheerful chaos. A joy that felt a world apart. I gasped out a fractured breath, suddenly overwhelmed. I can stand by while this happens, Mrs. Bennet. I refuse to let fear dictate my life. I am a mother. Exactly, she said, steeling her resolve. Then protect what matters most. My heart twisted, swirling between the safe world I longed to keep for Lily and the dark truths waiting to break the surface. One glance back at my daughter sealed my fate. I couldn't let fear take what mattered above all else. I have to trust my gut. Well, leave, I resolved, but my voice trembled with uncertainty. The thought of what lurked in the shadows felt overwhelming, yet standing still felt like inviting calamity. Suddenly, the sound of screeching tires erupted outside. I instinctively turned toward the noise, the world freezing as I met Mrs. Bennet's wide eyes. Then, within seconds, that fear turned to ashes as four expansive black SUVs skidded to a halt, engines growling like wild beasts. My heart dropped at the sight of stern figures clad in dark suits pouring out, a foreboding presence encroaching upon our happiness. Stay close, I whispered to Mrs. Bennet, dread rooting me in place. I can't let them touch my daughter. Lily's laughter drifted toward us, oblivious to the storm building outside. But as I scanned the party, familiar faces faded into insignificance. Protecting her wasn't just a choice, it had become a desperate call for survival. Then, the doors swung open, and the leader man I recognized from years ago at the edge of my memory approached, dark eyes cold and calculating. Panic surged through me as I instinctively reached for Lily, knowing that the balance had shifted, marking this day irrevocably. Hannah, he called, voice piercing through the noise of joy. We need to talk. It's about Nora. The stakes had risen higher than I could have ever anticipated, and with a chilling twist, I realized the game was only just beginning. The laughter of the party felt like the clanging of a distant bell that grew fainter as the dark-haired man advanced, his presence a shadow eclipsing the brightness of the day. I clutched Lily's hand, my pulse drumming in my ears, drowning out the cheerful chatter that surrounded us. My heart twisted, knowing the joy she felt was about to shatter into a million pieces. Hannah, the man said again, his voice even and cold, "You can't hide forever. We need to discuss your sister." My thoughts raced back to Nora, that glimmering memory of summers spent drawing with chalk on the sidewalk, the sweet scent of sun-warmed grass, laughter filling the air. But such memories felt tarnished now, suffocated by the weight of unanswered questions. How had the specter of my sister's life intertwined with this moment, drifting back here when I had thought it all behind me? "I have nothing to say to you," I retorted, my voice laced with a fierce defiance that barely masked my fear. I wanted to run away, scoop Lily into my arms, and escape this nightmarish reality. But I was anchored here, locked in the grave seriousness of his gaze. "Nothing to say?" he questioned, a cruel smile creeping across his lips, as if he fed on the tension in the air. "Your sister's debts are your burden now, Hannah. You can simply wish them away." His words sliced through me, a raw and jagged wound reminding me how far I would go to protect Lily. "She had nothing to do with this," I insisted, though tears prickled the corners of my eyes, threatening to spill over. The weight of her mistakes was pressing upon my back, heavier than the world itself. "Perhaps," he allowed, a hint of mock compassion glazing over his voice. "But your family ties have a way of catching up, even when you think they're buried." I caught a glimpse of Mrs. Bennet behind me, her eyes wide with concern. "Hannah, we need to go," she whispered urgently, taking a step forward. But I felt rooted in place, the storm before me rising too high to disregard. "Why are you doing this?" I spat, wishing desperately to light a spark of anger that might push me from this realizable nightmare. "After all these years, why now?" "Because," he said, leaning closer, lowering his voice so only I could hear, "it's time for you to realize what you are truly capable of. You're innocent no longer, Hannah. It's time to choose. Join us, and perhaps you can protect your daughter from the inevitable consequences of your sister's choices." The thought crawled under my skin, like a worm burrowing into my brain. They wanted to pull me into a world I had spent years escaping. I glanced at Lily, still laughing in her innocent joy, and for a moment, the weight of it all threatened to crush me. "I'll never join you," I breathed, every ounce of my being rallying against the very idea. His smile widened, revealing a hint of menace. "Then you'd best reconsider your stance because the clock is ticking." Before I could respond, a rush of voices erupted from the throng of partygoers as Mr. Harrington emerged from the other side, eyes darting around as if assessing an impending storm. "Hannah, we need to get Lily out of here," he called desperately, breaking through the tension like a beam of light. But as he approached, the leader raised a hand, halting Harrington's progress. "You don't want to interfere in matters that are beyond you," he warned, his tone icy, resonating with a weight that suggested dire consequences. For a heartbeat, the world quieted, suspended in the moment. The party, once a cacophony of joy, felt like a damning spotlight. I had to make a choice not just for myself, but for my daughter. Each second drew out, tinged with the taste of fear and desperation. I turned to Mrs. Bennet, whose expression reflected the turmoil I felt within. She stepped closer to me, placing a reassuring hand on my shoulder, grounding me yet again with her unwavering presence. "Whatever happens, we'll figure this out together," she declared. "Let's go," I urged, but my heart sank. Moving meant defying the man before us, a choice that could place Lily in further jeopardy. "Be brave, my love," I whispered to my daughter, gauging her wide-eyed optimism. She nodded, her innocence shining brightly, even in these dark moments. "I'm not scared, Mommy," she beamed, unfazed by the turmoil surrounding her, a light pushing back against the encroaching shadows. But just as I turned to drag my daughter away, the unmistakable sound of sirens blared in the distance, drawing closer, intertwining with the tension thick in the air. The man before me smirked, a predator poised for the kill. And just like that, "Hannah, the game is set. Choose wisely, there will be no second chances." A cold weight seized my chest as dread gripped me anew. There would be no escape. I could feel the walls closing in, and the realization hit me all at once. I was not merely defending my daughter, I was on the precipice of a battle that could redefine our very existence. Just then, the man pulled out a glimmering card from his pocket, tossing it at my feet. "If you change your mind, the door will always be open." As it landed, the sirens grew louder, and I bent down to retrieve it. My heart stopped for a moment as I saw the words etched in bold letters, "Meet me." With that, a fresh wave of terror crashed over me, but the burgeoning dread was no match for the flickering flame of determination lighting within me. I would face whatever battle lay ahead. But as the sirens wailed and shadows encroached, I realized one undeniable truth: the real fight for Lily's future had only just begun. The sirens pierced through the remaining cheer of the party, an explosion of sound that shattered the facade of unity among the guests. I felt as though the walls were caving in, the air heavy with uncertainty and a creeping dread that suffocated me. "Mommy?" Lily's voice was innocent, cutely laced with confusion. She turned to me, her round eyes wide and pleading, and I could see the silhouette of fear clouding her unblemished joy. "What's wrong?" "Nothing, sweetheart, everything is fine," I managed to choke out, pushing a smile onto my lips while my heart raced in anticipation of the chaos that loomed. But I wasn't fine, and I knew it. As I clutched Lily's tiny hand, I could hear the murmurs of startled guests and the distant shuffles of officers moving towards us. The weight of scrutiny felt unbearable, and the flickering laughter of a party I once enjoyed now felt like mockery. Steeling myself, I decided to lead Lily away from the mounting tension, hoping to shield her from the encroaching storm. "Let's get some fresh air, sweetie," I said brightly, trying to sound as natural as possible. We pushed past a cluster of partygoers, their faces a mix of concern and excitement, oblivious to the darkness spilling out just beyond us. As I led Lily outside, the biting chill of the evening air enveloped us like a thick blanket, daring to settle into my bones. We ventured into the garden, which had morphed into an enchanted realm adorned with fairy lights dangling from branches that twisted in graceful arcs. It was almost beautiful enough to momentarily distract me from the impending nightmare closing in behind us. "Can we go on the swings?" Lily asked, pointing towards the faint outline of a swing set nestled against the edge of the yard where the twinkling lights could barely reach. "Of course," I replied, unable to resist her infectious spirit. I hurried her over, momentarily forgetting the gravity of the situation as she giggled and climbed onto the swing, her laughter piercing through the darkness that threatened to swallow me whole. "Higher, Mommy, higher," she squealed, each kick of her legs sending her soaring upwards as I pushed her gently. Her small frame became a silhouette against the glimmering stars, a beacon of light in my ever-darkening world. But as I stood there, smiling at her joy, the oppressive reality crashed back in like a rogue wave. I was caught between the past shackles and an uncertain future, trapped by the choices of a sister who had left me to carry her burdens. The card lay heavy in my pocket, its promise of a looming decision adding to my turmoil. As I pushed Lily higher, I noticed a familiar figure approaching from the corner of my eye. My heart sank, knowing the scent of his gentleness amidst the encroaching shadows. It was Mr. Harrington, urgency etched into his features, which faded into concern as he saw Lily flying through the air. "Hannah," Lily's laughter interrupted his words as she jumped off the swing, sprinting toward him with open arms. "Mr. Harrington." She beamed, void of any worry. Even in the face of impending adversity, her spirit flourished like a flower in the sun. Harrington knelt down, enveloping her in a warm embrace, and the sight hit me hard, tears brimming in my eyes. In a world filled with threats, he was a pillar of strength, someone who dared to brave the storm with me. "I am glad to see you," I managed to say, my voice quaking with the fissures of unshared burdens. "But it's getting dangerous. We need to leave, Hannah," he said, brushing back a stray hair from his forehead, his focus unyielding. "I can help you. I know things about your sister, and what may be coming next." A twinge of hope flickered within me, sparking against the despair. "I don't know if I can trust you," I replied, half-heartedly wanting to retaliate but equally desiring his guidance. "Then let me show you," he implored, his gaze sincere. "There are people looking out for you both, and it's time to prepare for what's ahead. They won't just stop at threats, this is about something far more sinister." The edges of my heart tightened at his words, and I felt exposed, my defenses unwinding under the weight of his earnest intent. "What do you mean?" But before he could respond, the sound of hurried footsteps interrupted us, shattering the moment before it could solidify. The cold chill crept back into my bones as I turned, my stomach dropping at the sight of several uniformed officers entering the garden, their businesslike demeanor framing an approach that felt almost predatory. "Miss Gray," one called out as he approached, his voice commanding, resonating with authority. "We need to speak with you immediately." Time slowed, and every instinct screamed at me to grab Lily and run. The impending clash of worlds within me collided violently, fear and protectiveness wrestling for dominance. Harrington stepped in front of me, shielding us. "What's going on?" he challenged, his posture steely, unyielding against the surge of uncertainty. I held my breath, the reality crashing over me like ice water, the weight of not only my fears but my sister's legacy bearing down on me. The air crackled with tension, anticipation woven through the fabric of the moment as I felt caught between an irrevocable past and an uncertain future. Then, just as they moved closer, hesitating for a moment as if waiting for a signal, the card in my pocket felt heavier than lead. I was faced with a glaring choice between trust and secrets, between fighting for my daughter or engulfing her further into shadows, and I could see it clearly now. The choice laid before me was not just about loyalty to my sister or my own safety, it was about ensuring Lily's innocence remained intact, no matter the cost. The sirens faded into a haunting echo behind us, and for the first time, I felt the tremor of resolve cascading through my body. Whatever happened next, I would not allow fear to dictate my path. But as I prepared to confront the officers, the weight of Harrington's promise stilled me momentarily. Could I truly believe that anyone could be trusted when all of this threatened to destroy the very foundation I had built for my daughter? "I will never give up on you, Lily," I whispered to myself, heart pounding against the uncertainty churning within. And from behind the officers, another figure stepped into the dim light, someone I never expected to see. A familiar face from the past bearing the unmistakable signs of life choices painted across it. "Mom." The voice trembled in the cold air, the one word echoing like a distorted whisper through the night, sending shockwaves through my heart and mind. I could only stare, frozen in disbelief as my world spiraled further out of control. Here stood the very ghost I had tried to bury, the sister I thought I had lost forever, suddenly very real and unflinchingly present. The moment stretched, expanding between breath and heartbeat, hanging in the air like the first tremors of an approaching storm. I had come to expect chaos in my life, yet nothing could have prepared me for the sinking realization that the threads of my existence were unraveling in tandem with the sudden return of the abnormality I thought I had buried deep within my past. "Mom." The voice resonated again, torn between hope and an unsteady tremor. The recognition rippled through my body and sent despair crashing against the fragile dam I had built around my heart. There she stood, Leah, the sister whose absence had become the ghost haunting every corner of my life, the very reason I now grappled with the looming shadows encroaching around us. And here, among the officers and Harrington's watchful gaze, she was resurrected from the ashes of neglect I had tried so hard to hide. "Leah." I managed to breathe, my voice barely a murmur as disbelief danced across my features. "Is that really you?" "Yes," she replied, stepping closer, her face shadowed under the muted lights. I had to come. I heard what happened." The officers paused, intrigued by the sudden twist of the evening, their attention momentarily diverted as the layers of tension around us thickened. I did not know what to feel. Leah's unexpected visit should have been a blessing, yet instinctively I felt the tightening knot of anxiety. Had her return come with more chaos? More danger? "What are you doing here?" I asked, the frayed edges of my voice betraying the raw emotions simmering just beneath the surface. You disappeared without a word after everything. I know, Leah said, the weight of her regrets palpable in the air. But I needed to get away, Hannah. You must understand, I was suffocating in a life I didn't fit into. I shot back, simmering resentment breaking free. You left me to pick up the pieces of your choices while I sacrificed everything to protect Lily. Lily shifted restlessly beside me, her innocent gaze bouncing between her mother and the stranger claiming to be my sister. I wanted to shield her from the chaos brewing, yet I couldn't ignore the sisterly bond that still flickered beneath the layers of hurt. Everything has changed, Leah continued, her voice softer now. I'm here because I heard that they are looking for you, and I can help. They are planning something dangerous, and I have information that can keep you both safe. No. I can't let you drag us into your mess again, I replied, glancing nervously at the uniform still watching, aware that our conversation was unraveling into a public spectacle. This is not just about you anymore, it's about Lily, but I can protect her too. This is bigger than both of us, and you need to trust me. Leah urged, desperation painted across her features. Trust. I repeated, disbelief crashing through my veins. How can I trust you after you walked away? You don't get to come back now and expect everything to be okay. The officers exchanged glances, their patience waning as the scene unfolded around them like a tangled web, but I barely registered them. All I could feel was the aching tension between Leah and me, punctuated by the laughter of carefree children echoing in the distance. Then, unexpectedly, Harrington stepped closer, his intense gaze shifting between the two of us. Hannah, you're not alone in this. You must think about the safety of Lily first. If Leah says she has information, we might need to listen. I shot him a look of incredulity. And trust her? After everything that's happened? Please, just give me a chance to explain. Leah pleaded, stepping forward as if to close the distance. They want something powerful connected to Mom's past. I have seen the extent of what is at stake. They know about Lily, and they are coming for her. A chill raced down my spine at her words, and I felt the air grow heavy with the weight of her declaration. What are you saying? There's a family legacy at play, Leah pressed. Something that can put you and Lily in danger. If we don't take this seriously, we risk everything. The officers shifted now, one stepping forward, clearly prepared to intervene if the conversation continued to escalate. Yet before I could react, I felt a gentle tug on my skirt. Lily was watching, wide-eyed, her small voice breaking through our tumultuous exchange. Mommy, who is she? Why does she look sad? Her innocent inquiry cut through the chaos like a blade, and every defense I had lifted crumbled in that moment. Leah knelt down before Lily, a flicker of warmth igniting in her otherwise strained expression. Hi there, sweet girl. I'm Leah, your aunt. But I thought I didn't have an aunt. Lily replied, genuine confusion knitted into her brow, and the sense of innocence stung like a fresh wound. Leah's eyes softened, sadness pulling in their depths as the reality of our situation seeped through. I know, and I'm so sorry for that. I've been gone too long. But I'm here to protect you now. No. I cut in, kneeling beside Lily, desperate to shield her from the conflicting tangle of family and betrayal. You don't get to do this now. I can't let you hurt her again. But before Leah could respond, one of the officers stepped closer. Miss Gray, we need to know what's going on here, he stated firmly. We don't have time for this. If your sister has information, it's imperative you cooperate. And at that moment, the weight of unspoken truths unraveled in an instant. My heart raced as the collective weight of family ties, betrayal, and danger huddled closely, converging upon our fragile gathering. The stakes had been raised, and the look in Leah's eyes told me just how far things had gone. As the looming shadows encircled us, the sound of footsteps closed in from all sides, crushing my resolve. My sister, my daughter, a future bound by secrets I hardly understood. What had this night transformed us into? Then, from the alleyway beyond the garden, I caught a glimpse of a figure standing still. The light illuminated his features, and I recognized him instantly, a face from my past tied closely to the ripples of my sister's choices and a reminder of the dangers ahead. "Leah!" I yelled, panic igniting within me. "No. Get away from her," but it was too late. The dogged shadows began to encroach, and in the quick glance exchanged between Leah and that familiar figure, I saw the truth reflected in her eyes, a secret far darker than I had prepared for, and as officers rushed toward us, I stood there, caught between the jagged remnants of my past and the uncertain fate that lay ahead, a mother frantically grasping onto the splinters of family woven into a fabric of treachery and unforeseen revelations. The world felt surreal as chaos swirled around us, the laughter of kids still echoing faintly in the background, now tainted by the truths unraveling in front of me. Leah stood there, her uncertainty palpable, while the officer's stern expression cut through my panic. I grasped Lily's tiny hand tighter, feeling her warmth in the storm brewing around us. "Hannah," Leah began, her voice wavering as she searched for the right words. "You don't understand. The people I was involved with. They're not just threats. They're out for blood, and two came because I saw signs that they're looking for you and Lily. No. I exclaimed, a mix of disbelief and anger flooding over me. "You don't get to come back and drag us into your mess. You left us, Leah. You abandoned me when I needed you most, leaving me to bear the weight of your choices." My heart ached with the memories of carrying that burden alone, years of solitude amplified by the absence of a sister I craved in my life. The pain surged, but underneath lay an unyielding resolve to protect my daughter at all costs. "Hannah, please let me help," Leah urged, her desperation genuine, and for a moment, I caught a glimpse of the little girl digging up artifacts from our backyard, sharing dreams of exploring the world beyond our insular lives. In that moment, my protective instincts warred with the flickers of nostalgia. "Please provide more context," the officer commanded, his tone firm, unflinching. "What exactly are we dealing with here? If you suspect any imminent threat, now is the time to speak." Just then, Harrington stepped forward. "Before anyone does anything rash, we need to listen. Leah, if you have information that can protect them, now is the time." The tension thickened as I watched the exchange unfold, each heartbeat a ticking clock echoing the past colliding with fierce urgency. Leah looked around, her gaze darting nervously before locking onto mine. I could see the conflict behind her eyes, the fear battling against the desperation for redemption. "It's about Nora," she finally said, her voice trembling. "I thought she was gone from our lives, but her actions set off a chain that may come crashing down on you both." The heavy implications hung in the air like a dark cloud. "What do you mean, Leah?" I pressed, adrenaline combined with fear shaking my voice. "How could she have anything to do with this? She got mixed up with dangerous people," Leah continued, her voice barely a whisper. "They thought she could fetch something valuable, something that belonged to our family before we lost everything. I didn't understand until it was too late. She vanished, left a trail of threats behind her. And now, Hannah, they're coming for you, for Lily." A sickening twist in my stomach flicked to life as fear crept in. "We can protect ourselves," I countered defiantly, glancing at Lily, who still stood rooted, holding her unicorn in her arms as if it would shield her from all harm. "I won't let fear fracture this moment," but Leah shook her head, her eyes pleading. "Family legacies are stronger than you think. If they find Lily, if they sense any weakness, they will use her against us, against you. They don't care about the past, they care about power." "But how did you even know we were here?" I demanded. It hurt to see her again, but it hurt even more to realize she was still tied to chaos. I overheard conversations. The people I cut ties with feared betrayal and the moments of silence they saw. I had to come back. I thought I could confront them, but they're everywhere, switching like smoke in the air. A terrifying panic settled over me as realization dawned. The danger wasn't just a shadow, it was a storm-gathering force with malicious intent. Understanding pressed on me like a weight. I had to act fast if I wanted to protect Lily from becoming collateral damage. You should have come to me sooner. You could have warned me. Just as Leah opened her mouth, the officer interrupted, drawing my attention again. Miss Gray, you do realize keeping secrets now only weakens your case. We need to evacuate this area before it escalates any further. Lily, watching, kept gripping my hand, her small fingers wrapped around mine remind me of why any of this mattered. I closed my eyes, catching my breath, battling the fear that threatened to consume everything I created for her in the last 6 years. We can't stay here, I finally said, releasing Lily's hand just enough to kneel down to her level, cupping her face. You need to listen carefully, sweetheart. Take my hand and trust me. With my heart racing, I turned back to Leah and the officer. Well, leave, but I won't abandon my sister. She needs to come with us. We cannot turn our backs on family. Not again, are you sure? Harrington asked, an edge of concern lacing his voice. Involving her could put you both at greater risk. He's right, the officer added, his brow furrowed. This is not just a conversation anymore, it's pressing danger that demands immediate action. No, Lily whimpered, her eyes bright with fear. Mommy, what is happening? Where are we going? The knot in my stomach tightened at her innocence, her confused gaze reflecting the tender and terrifying essence of childhood. I pulled her into my arms, enveloping her in love, sheltering her from the turmoil swirling outside. We're going to make sure you're safe, I whispered into her hair, battling my own uncertainty. Follow me, Leah said, her voice steadied with newfound resolve. I know the way to a safe place. We began to move, my gut churning with a mix of protectiveness and trepidation, a whirlwind of decisions crashing against the fragile reality I had built around Lily. As we passed through the throng of guests, I felt the weight of eyes upon us, a tapestry woven by judgment, concern, and lingering uncertainty. But amid all the chaos, one thing reigned true, I had to keep moving forward, and as we raced toward an uncertain future, I could feel the whispers of strength surrounding me, becoming a force not only for myself but for the little girl who was my light in the darkness. The last glance I stole of the backyard filled with birthday cheer seemed a lifetime away, the weight of nostalgia clung to my heart as resignation settled in. But as we surged forward, I held tight to the flicker of hope ignited by the fierce love I had for Lily, the ultimate weapon against the impending storm threatening to consume us. As we burst forth from the party into the unknown, I swore I could feel the tendrils of our past slip away, paving the way for a future yet to be written, a future where forgiveness, strength, and sisterhood might still bloom amidst the darkness. And in that moment of resolve, I whispered a silent promise to the universe. No matter what, I would fight for my daughter, protect her light, and reclaim the bonds that once felt so near to broken. I would leave no stone unturned, and as the echoes of laughter faded into the distance, I let those radiant memories fill my heart, teetering on the threshold between fear and courage, strength and vulnerability. Together, we would forge a path of hope through the chaos that awaited. Stay close, Lily, I said, feeling her warmth within the chaos, and as we stepped into the shadows that lay ahead, I took a deep breath and allowed love to guide me. In that fleeting moment, I realized that just as we traversed the darkness, the dawn was creeping closer, and shimmering up ahead might just be the promise of a bright new beginning, standing unyielding against the storms of yesterday. In the silence that followed, I knew, ultimately, together, we would light our way home.